about today is one of the greatest frauds in human history. It's not the greatest fraud, it's actually a sub-fraud of one that was already brought up in our conversation. But it is nevertheless a huge fraud that affects trillions of dollars of our economy today. But before I get into that, I just want to ask, how many of you have read the book 1984? Alright, that's everyone.
I'm going to just pan over.
I actually read it before.
Everybody raise your hands again. Everybody?
1984. Before 1984.
So did I. Alright, so every single one of you have read it, so you already know what I'm about to say, but I'm just going to remind you of a couple of things of it. I'm going to talk about the concept of doublethink and its cousin doublespeak. I'm just going to read a full paragraph where George Orwell described what that was. The key word here is black-white. Like so many newspeak words, newspeak being the language of created by the government in the fictional story of 1984. Like so many newspeak words, the word has two mutually contradictory meanings.
Sorry, John.
Applied to an opponent, it means the habit of impudently claiming black is white, in contradiction to the plain facts. Applied to a party member of the government, it means a loyal willingness to say that black is white when a party discipline demands this. But it means also the ability to believe that black is white, and more, to know that black is white, and to forget one has ever believed the contrary. This demands a continuous alteration of the past, made possible by the system of thought in which really embraces all the rest, and which is known in the newspeak language as doublethink. Doublethink is basically the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accepting them both, which is insane if you think about it. A couple of just examples of where they use this is in the naming of their organizations, their ministries in the country of Oceania where this takes place. The Ministry of Peace managed the perpetual war. The Ministry of Plenty oversaw the distribution of goods and therefore the impoverishment of the entire society. The Ministry of Truth was responsible for lies and propaganda, actually altering the memory, which is part of what we just talked about, of the past. And then, of course, the Ministry of Love was responsible for the worst kind of torture that you can imagine, and they would even spy on you throughout your whole life and learn what kind of torture would be specifically the worst torture for you, and then they would send you to that room 101 where they would administer that torture for the mere fact that you had any kind of hesitation about the righteousness of the party or the good of the party. So we'll keep that in mind as I go forward, and now I'm going to take you somewhere else. I'm going to take you to the dentist chair. So you're sitting in the dentist chair, and maybe you got a cavity, he's about ready to drill your teeth, and you're sitting there, you're ready to go, you got your mouth open, dentist pulls out his drill and he's like, and he's drilling on your teeth, right? So, where does the air come from for the drill? Right? There's a air compressor in his closet somewhere or in a room somewhere, and the air compressor is just a tank and a pump, right? So, the pump doesn't fill the tank at the same rate of speed that the drill drills from. So the dentist drills, right, and it's like, and then the pump kicks on, right, and the drill gets faster. Or worse, let's say he's drilling on your teeth for a while, right, and it gets really slow. Then he takes a break. He's got to clean his glasses, or maybe he's got to suck all those tooth chips out of your mouth. But while he's taking the break, So then, you know, he's not thinking about this. The drill was really slow, so he goes into your mouth and he drills and it's like, and he like burns your teeth as the drills into your jaw. He makes a big mess. How many people have had that happen? This hasn't happened, does it? No. There's a reason why that doesn't happen. In between the tank and the drill is something called a pressure regulator. And what does the regulator do? It makes the pressure regular, which is to say, as he's gesturing over there, smooth, always the same, well functioning. We'll look at a different situation. A storm comes to your neighborhood and the power goes out. And you're kind of cheap, so you buy like a small generator, right? You know, I don't have a lot of money. I understand. So you have a small generator, or at least I don't, so I'm just thinking about myself here. So you have a small generator, you plug your refrigerator into it, of course, that's going to be the first thing you plug into it, and then you're kind of bored, so you guys probably don't watch a lot of TV, so maybe you plug your computer into it so you can watch some Lysander Spooner videos. But you got your electronics plugged into it, you got your refrigerator plugged into it, and so the
Waterfall in my case.
Well, yeah, that's another good one there, because in both cases, the refrigerator or the well, neither one of them run all the time.
Right.
They kick on, they kick off, they both draw a huge amount of power, especially when they first kick on. So you're watching the Lysander Spooner video or the Jeffrey Tucker video or whatever it is, and your refrigerator kicks on, or in your case, the well pump kicks on, and the generator starts choking and puking for about a good 3 seconds, right? Because it's got to put more gas in there. It's got to, some of the load comes off because the motor of the generator or of the refrigerator or the well pump starts drawing less power, and eventually the generator kicks up. But what actually happens, like let's say you have a light plugged into it too, you'll see a little bit of, you won't see like a full 3 second, like the thing dims down and then your computer shuts off. That doesn't happen. The power comes back before the engine can even respond to the new load. Why is that? In between the generator and your electrical devices is a voltage regulator. It does the same thing. It makes the electrical voltage smooth, providing a consistent, well-operating power output to whatever device you're trying to use, regardless of the speed of the generator. The word regular shows up in the Constitution as well.
Well-regulated militia.
Well, that is an example, but that's not where I'm going.
Okay, sorry.
Although that's kind of a side issue I can bring up later. Article 1, Section 8 lists the powers get granted to Congress by the Constitution. And one of those powers says, and I have it written here, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. So, Congress has the power to make interstate commerce regular. Can they outlaw commerce? In pneumatics, we call that a valve. We don't call it a regulator. In electricity, we call it a switch. We give it different names because a regulator doesn't halt stuff. It makes things smoothly operate. And we all know, what do? They outlaw all kinds of stuff, all kinds of commerce. Do the myriad of laws that are passed in the name of regulation actually make commerce regular? No. They make commerce irregular. Congress irregulates. They don't deregulate, they irregulate.
No, I'm just already got.
the definition of regulate has changed over the couple of centuries in our minds. And, even anarchist libertarians like Jeffrey Tucker come out against regulation. We shouldn't be against regulation. Regulation is an awesome thing. It's provided by the market. It's provided by the government staying out of the way. But here we have an entire society, including the libertarians and the anarchists, who believe that regulation is all about command and control and causing things to not work well. And they say too much regulation causes things not to work well. This is a common thing among all libertarian groups. They want to limit the amount of regulation. And it's just wrong-headed because of the double-speak word that regular and all of its forms, regular, regulation, regulator, has become. So, with that in mind, I'm going to take you to another place in thought. Law is an emergent order. It's like language. It's not like it's not something that's to be centrally planned. It predated legislation and all of the king's attempts to define what law is. So states didn't always write laws. Law just was. You don't have to be an elected official to write a dictionary. You can just write it based on what the language is, and it's the same thing for law. Augustus of Rome, he was really the first emperor that came after Caesar, and he was one to make edicts that he called laws. And that kind of really shocked people because the law had always just existed, and now here's this man who thinks that he can tell you what the law is. If you give a group of people the power to define what laws are, they will use their influence to define the language and therefore their power, and use that power to become your rulers rather than your representatives. And with that, I say that there is no going back to the Constitution of the past. And even if we did somehow manage to go back to where we were before the Alien and Sedition Acts were passed, not long after the Constitution was signed, it just means repeating the same cycle of tyranny that we're already on. The whole point of what I'm saying is they don't even have to amend the Constitution when they can change the definition of the words that are in it. They can rule you regardless of what is written on that piece of paper. They can make it mean whatever they want it to mean. So the solution to this problem is simple, and that is, let's not give a body of people the power to define what law is. In ancient Ireland, they had a libertarian society that existed in such a way that it was not a state. They had kings and they had courts and they had laws, but everything that we think of that defines a state didn't exist in ancient Ireland. What they had was the king was unable to write the laws. The laws were an emergent order. The courts didn't have a monopoly on being the courts. You could choose which court system you wanted to be under, and you didn't have to pack up and move to find another court system. And this made the court systems far more competitive than, say, the United States is with Great Britain or whatever. Because to move to Great Britain would be a pain in the ass, and you'd have to give up all of your family and everything. It's a far better system. I bring this up as just evidence that a stateless society is possible. I don't think that our society would end up quite like Britain's. Ireland. We're not going to elect kings administer the section of law that we want to be under. But if you guys are interested in speculation, and this David Friedman does a lot of speculation. That's his favorite thing to do. He's got videos all over YouTube. It's not on his own channel, but if you Google him, you can easily watch an hour lecture speculating on what society might be like. I don't really find this too interesting because the fact is we don't know what it's going to look like, and that's kind of the point. Instead of having a central planner controlling everything, you're going to have millions of people coming up with what society is. And therefore, you don't know exactly what they're going to come up with because there's just so many of them. It's impossible to know. And another reason why I don't care is because I don't care how the cotton is going to get picked. I just want the slaves to be free. We can work out how society would function after the slavery has ended. As libertarians, we all believe that central planners are incapable of creating economic order. And I'm going to go a step further and say that central planners are incapable of creating civil order as well. They're idiots. And that was going to be the conclusion to my speech, but I just wanted to add a little bit of added information that go on the end here. I actually have a handout. Here you can
Push it down?
Yes, down there.
Okay.
I made this about an hour or before I came here. I just wanted to. This goes back to the point that I was making near the beginning about the impact of the fraud that is the redefining of the word regulator. Now, we don't have a libertarian society, a free society to compare ourselves to, so I went the other direction and I looked at Europe, which is a degree worse than what we are. So I have the U.S. on top here under the comparison of European economies to the U.S. You can see our GDP per capita is $50,700 per person. Spain is at 31.1, France is 36, Portugal is 23, and I got the whole EU in there at 35. And you can see it's about 1.4 to 2.1. U.S. is about 1.4 to 2.1 times the size of the economies per person as these countries. This is just the difference between a society that has one degree of taxation and regulation. See, I'm using the word myself wrong because we're so programmed to use it that way. Taxation and deregulation compared to our level of taxation and deregulation, which has historically been less. And the way this comes about is in the chart that you see below there. How a significant change can come about from a small change in the growth rate of GDP over a long time. And I have three different groups here, and I'm not sure why they're not lined up on the columns. But we start off with $100, and if the growth rate is 1.2% after 71 years, you have $233. If you have after at 2.2%, so a 1% difference, you would have $468, which is 2.01 times as much. And then if the growth rate is 3.2%, you would have $935, or 4 times the amount of income. Because we're talking about GDP here, your income would be 4 times higher. So if you think about our GDP being, what is it, like 16 trillion now, or even if we just look at whatever your income is, if you take your income and multiply it times 2 or 4, this is possibly what we could have if we eliminated the leviathan that is the central government that is controlling our economy in the name of trying to make it regular.
So true.
huge of an impact on our lives. And this is just from one tiny fraud compared to, you know, I'm just scratching the surface on the evils of the state here. There's so much more that you can talk about. This is just one tiny little thing. So.
Right on.
You don't normally do this, do you?
No.
No, but you did all right.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. It's really awesome. Should I end the recording?
Well, unless
You got any
people have any
questions?
questions.
Nothing I want on film.